Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 50th part of What If Deku Was Sanji's Reincarnation, My Heroes Reborn. The author of this great fanfic is enterally. Links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 50, Don't Smack Sense Into Him. Izuku, thanks to a combination of seeing his footsteps and haki, he found Kota. He was brooding while his stomach was rumbling. I heard that, said Izuku. It's never a good idea to go without food, trust me, I know. How did you find this place? Demanded Kota. Oh, I followed your footsteps along with other ways, said Izuku. Other ways? Asked Kota. Just something I can do, said Izuku. I heard you were hungry, don't worry, it's the mild batch. I figure you would want some as everyone would have eaten it otherwise. Yeah, right. Everyone's exaggerating about that dumb cooking, it can't be that good, muttered Kota. Izuku's sweat dropped knowing he shouldn't tell him about the whole lunch rush thing. So just leave, this is my secret hideout, said Kota. This is a secret hideout? Asked Izuku. Training your quirk all your life to get stronger, muttered Kota. It's dumb. All you want to do is show off. Get lost. Hey, I was wondering about your parents, were they water hose duo? The ones at the water quirks? Asked Izuku. Did Mandalay tell you? Demanded Kota. Said Izuku, kind of, but she didn't go into details. I remember reading about that horrible incident a few years ago. Go away, everyone here is so crazy, muttered Kota, everyone focusing on names like hero and villains. Everyone just showing off their stupid quirks. If they hadn't, they would still be here, idiots. Izuku realized something about him, that Kota hates quirks. Go back to came from with the other losers, yelled Kota. Izuku sighed and took out a toothpick and placed in his mouth. He wasn't entering Sanji mode, he just really wanted a cigarette right now. I was a late bloomer, said Izuku. What? Asked Kota. It's true, my quirk first appeared in my teens, said Izuku. I spent years trying to use telekinesis or to breathe fire, for years I prayed for a miracle. And yes, you have a super strength quirk, muttered Kota. Maybe I have done I have this friend thing, thought Izuku with a sweat drop. He took a breath. But my point is that you shouldn't reject quirks outright, it might cause problems in the future, said Izuku. Just shut up, yelled Kota. Sorry. I guess I ramble sometimes, said Izuku. He sighed as placed the bowl of curry on the ground. I'll leave the curry, said Izuku. As he left, unfortunately he couldn't help but to go into Sanji mode. By the way, said Izuku, eat it. I really hate it when someone wastes food. Kota began to sweat seeing him have a complete 180. However, that night none of the heroes in training knew that the camp was being watched by villains. Oh man, I hate this, complained Toga wearing a mask. It's sold on the black market, said a boy in a gas mask. We can always figure out something that would better later, said Priestess. Hopefully something that doesn't look like Sailor Moon, teased Toga. Why did you have to meet me drunk? Said Priestess. Oh, so you got drunk when you met them. I heard you were a drunk, said a voice. Priestess immediately paled as she got into defensive position. It was a man in a rather garish suit. So you are here, said Priestess. Oh, come now. I'm not here to kill you, you opened my eyes, said the man. Priestess looked at the man in front of her completely on guard. Her on the other hand, said the man. That was when a crazed woman with red hair grabbed her by the neck from behind. I wasn't sure if you were going to show up, said the woman, but you're here. She started to choke Priestess. You made me remember my past life, and the horrific nightmare this one is compared to that one, said the woman. That's enough, said Dabi, glaring at the woman. The woman let Priestess go. That was when someone holding a strange weapons walked over to Priestess to make sure she was alright. Are you okay? The person asked. I'm fine, it's not the first time I've been choked, said Priestess. When are we going to do something? Said one of the other villains who was wearing a mask. We're still waiting for 3 people, said Dabi. Besides, they think they're safe right now, said Priestess. They don't know what's coming, and isn't that more fun? Dabi and Togo both stared at her. You know, I can't really see you as ominous, said Toga. I have to agree, said Dabi. That first impression. Priestess stared at the two, then double face palmed. Why? Sighed Priestess. Do we want to know? Asked the boy in the gas mask. Something tells me no, said the man in the garish suit. The next day it was another hard day of training. During the training, Izuku decided to take a short break to ask Aizawa something. Hey, Aizawa. I was wondering if All Might. I mean, if any of the other teachers were coming, said Izuku. Except for Orchestra Rave, none of the other teachers knows where the camp is, said Aizawa. Izuku would question why Hibiki would be the lone teacher who would know, but then remembered Aiko would tell him. There is still a threat from the League of Villains, and you of all people would know why that is serious, said Aizawa, not to mention that All Might is the biggest target. Good point, said Izuku. Also, if you're wondering about your reassessment, it will be tomorrow, said Aizawa. I wasn't going to ask that, said Izuku with a sweat drop. Well, still, said Aizawa. Izuku sighed. Hey! You're not plus ultra yet, scolded Tiger to Izuku. Unfortunately, it triggered Izuku. You're not going to get me, yelled Izuku, running away. Tiger face palmed at this. Then he took out the tracker and hit the Aiko button. I wouldn't go after him if I were you, said Aiko. Hey! Who should go then? Asked Tiger. Achiko. Izuku ran away again, called out Aiko. Achiko was floating a large rock while trying not to vomit. I'll get to him in a second, she said, trying not to toss her cookies. As everyone trained, Pixie Bob made an announcement. All right. Tonight we're going to having a test of courage. Not only that, but it will be a competition. She cheered, Class 1A versus Class 1B. Though to be honest, all of them were dreading it, thinking it was more training. That night when it was time to make dinner. You know, said Mandalay, it might be a bad idea to let one person feed everyone. That was when several students glared at her. I mean, you should all be working together, said Mandalay. Then she noticed that Pixie Bob and Ragdoll were also glaring at her. You are not doing this, growled out Pixie Bob. Oh, come on, said Mandalay. During dinner, Todoroki decided to talk to Izuku. Hey, you were wondering about All Might, said Todoroki. He's not my dad, we've been through this, but he is my mentor, said Izuku. That wasn't why I was asking, said Todoroki. I wanted some advice, said Izuku. Kota doesn't like quirks or our society. Kota? Asked Todoroki. The kid who punched me in the nuts, sighed Izuku. I have questions about that, said Todoroki. I let my guard down around him, admitted Izuku, but that's neither here nor there. Todoroki blinked. I wanted some advice about how to help him, said Izuku. Really? Said Todoroki. I know. I have my past life memories, but smacking them until they understand isn't a viable option in this case, said Izuku. Is that how you solved problems like that in your past life? Asked Todoroki, unsure how to repose. Yeah, sighed Izuku. Why didn't you ask about your counselor? Asked Todoroki, would he be the better one to ask? Hibiki's doing science right now with a couple other reincarnations, said Izuku. What? Asked Todoroki. Don't ask, sighed Izuku. Todoroki sighed. You know how to get to the heart of the matter, said Todoroki. Izuku sighed when he said that. But at the same time, I was whacking you until you understood, said Izuku. He then went into Sanji mode. I'm not doing that to a little kid, even if he did punch me in the nuts. Todoroki was now more lost than ever. Even if that's what you've done before, I'm sure you'll figure out how to reach him, said Todoroki. I guess, sighed Izuku. There was another awkward silence. Did that work on other people? Asked Todoroki. All the time, but Luffy was the best at it, said Izuku. Todoroki wasn't sure how to respond to it, like at all. And soon enough it was time for the test of the courage. Though the remedial class, i.e., the 5 that failed their exams, had to be dragged away by Aizawa and weren't participating. Alright. So the test of courage is simple, said Pixie Bob. Class 1B would be the first ones scaring, and they would use their quirks to scare Class 1A. Class 1A would get tags with their names on them on the other side of the paths and then return. They would also be in pairs. The winners would be determined by those who were the most creative in their scares. And of course they drew lots to determine who would be placed together. Toru was with Kyoka, Mashireo was with Mineta, who was severely depressed because of it, Achiko with Tsuyu, and Momo was with Aoyama, while Izuku. Since there were 5 students failed the exams, it meant there was an odd number of students. However, Izuku was fine with this. Why? Wait, you're all alone in this, are you sure you're going to be okay? Asked Mashireo. Well, when you dealt with ghosts, witches, zombies, and was roommates with a living skeleton in a past life, having a bunch people try to scare you doesn't scare you that much, admitted Izuku. Everyone who heard this sweat dropped. I'm sorry, but did you just say you were roommates with a living skeleton? Asked Kyoka. Yeah, he was the ship's musician, said Izuku. There was an awkward silence. Why did you have a skeleton musician? Asked Kyoka with a sweat drop. Please don't make me explain, explaining things about Luffy always makes things worse, said Izuku. Sometime later, it was Achiko and Tsuyu's turn to go into the forest. You know, I would have thought there would be more screaming, said Tsuyu. I get the feeling that that's Toru's doing, said Achiko with a sweat drop. Ah, they were let in, Pixie Bob's sweat dropped. You know, maybe we should have altered the rules a little about this, she said with a sweat drop. When you have 5 teens with the memories of adults, it might get kind of skewed. Agreed Mandalay. Deeper in the forest, Toru was giggling as they left behind some very dejected members of Class 1B. How do you do it? Asked Kyoka. Oh, something I learned in my past life, said Toru. I go into details, but you're the person in class I really should do the whole thing with. What? Asked Kyoka. It involves a musical number, said Toru. Kyoka stared at her and once again said what? This time more baffled. That was when suddenly Toru shuddered. What's wrong? She asked. We have to get out of here now, said Toru, who then shuddered again. Why, what's going on? Asked Kyoka. I don't know, but something really bad, said Toru. With the groups that were waiting for their turns, they saw smoke rising up nearby along with flames. What's going on? Asked Mashireo. Midoriya, said Ida. Right, said Izuku, activating observation haki. That was when he saw it, scattered throughout the forest. Villains are here, yelled Izuku. Wait, are you sure? Asked Pixie Bob. That was when suddenly Pixie Bob was suddenly flung towards something. They saw where she was flung towards. It was that one villain who helped Priestess along with a lizard-like man who was dressed like Stain. However, Izuku noticed something. There was another villain and he was close to Kota's secret hideout. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 51. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.